Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series General Clayton Hawk Abernathy. We get this great digital render on the front here, which has a lot of really cool stuff going on. You get the G.I. Joe headquarters, very much as seen in the cartoon. We get the Triple T as well as a Cobra Stun. Up top here, I don't think that's Ant-Man or the Wasp. I think that's the Hawk version 3 in the Vintage series, if I'm not mistaken. Basically the Deke series Hawk, if that makes more sense to people. I really hope they make that version of Hawk in the classified line. We get the full loadout of accessories that come inside the box there. We get the art as well. This isn't my favorite art that we've seen in the line, but it's still fine. There we go. Hawk. We get the blue digital computer image on the side, number 103. We get the QR code and the teeny tiny icons. And then on the back, we get the bigger icons, which look much better when they're bigger like that. We get the full loadout of what comes in the box, the figure, as well as the accessories. Hawk stands 6.3 inches tall. He is one of the bigger Joes. And then a couple details. We get a crest on the shoulder, as well as the helmet with goggles on the helmet. And then on the bottom, we get legalese, as well as the legalese that's on at the very bottom. The full art on the side. And as I said, this isn't one of my more... this art doesn't do much for me. But who cares? It's about the figure. Number 103 for anybody keeping track. Let's get this guy out of the box. All right, so here we have Hawk out of the box. First impressions, it's an absolutely beautiful figure. The sculpt is bang on. I mean, it's great. They've done, the texture on the pants, the texture on the jacket. Everything looks really good. They've done a great job with all the little details too. There's a bit of a wash. There's some look to the jacket that makes it look like leather. You get the hits of the metallic for the zippers, the buckles, the metals, the stars even on his collar. Like, everything looks really good. The badges on either shoulder look good. The texture on the collar looks good. There's a couple issues that I've got with paint. You can see there's a little bit of a smudge on his jacket there. Hopefully that will come off. There's a little bit of smudge of brown paint on his forehead. I don't think that's supposed to be there. The issue that I have with this figure is, again, this straight cut in the sculpt for the sleeve. I've got a bit of a gap on one arm. I don't know why. I don't know why Classified is doing this. I mean, it's just not good enough for what Classified should be. The other issue that I have with this figure is a funny one. You can probably see, like, if you've noticed, there's like a floating bit for the shoulder here. So instead of a butterfly joint that we've seen on like Marvel Legends before, or the G.I. Joe Classified like we've seen before, there's sort of a floating piece in the shoulder here, which reminds me of SH Figure Arts figures. They do this all the time. Now, the problem with this is that this shoulder joint, isn't as smooth and buttery as an SH Figure Arts figure. So it doesn't go, like, it goes up and down just fine. And by that I mean, like, the peg sort of goes up and down, but it doesn't move nicely on that peg. I can't get this arm without forcing it to go up. And when I force it to go up, it creates damage to the shoulder. It allows the arm to sit really nicely at his side if you set it up right. If you set it up wrong, let me see if I can get it to go, which I can't because it's too tight unless I heat it up. But this shoulder, which I can't really show you because the gun holster is there. This shoulder is sitting higher. See how that shoulder is sitting higher? It's because that joint is tight and that is sitting on that joint. The ball is higher. The ball is higher on this side and it's sitting a little bit higher. If I kind of pop it down, it'll sit a little bit lower, and that worked. You sort of see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? There's a different thing going on here than what we've seen with butterfly joints that Hasbro has done before. And I'll be perfectly honest, I would be much happier with a normal butterfly joint here and a better arm. So like I just think that they're kind of missing the mark. And this is not just, you know, with Hawk. This is with a bunch of figures recently where I think Hasbro's kind of jumped the shark as far as changing something that wasn't broken. They had great butterfly joints. Snake Eyes, Duke, you know, the Wave 1 figures had great butterfly joints. The sort of connection, the interface between the shoulder and the bicep was really nice and clean. This is not. This is sloppy. So on one side it's a little bit tighter. It's still it's weird. There's like a ridge. I can feel it with my finger. It doesn't sit flush. It's not sculpted flush. And then on the other side there's a gap. You can see the gap there. That's better. When I hold it like that, you can see what I mean. There's clearly a gap between the shoulder and the bicep, which is disappointing because, like I said, there's a lot of figures that don't have that issue. The idea of this butterfly joint, if you want to call it that, makes sense. It's just not done right. So, you know, I have been saying that I don't bother with the articulation because it's been really good for classified. But recently, they've kind of gone away from some of the things that have worked really well. And I don't know why they've done that. And I wish they would sort of just go back to the way they were, 6 months or a year ago. But anyways, it's a great looking figure. I'm very, very happy to have this figure. And I think once I heat it up, some of these issues are going to go away. What I mean by that is I think this shoulder joint is going to loosen up and it's going to be fine. It's just kind of driving me crazy right now because I can't get it to pose very well without heating it. Anyways, the accessories are great for this figure. And so let's take a look at the accessories. Starting off with the helmet, we have Hawk's helmet. I mean, there's not much to it. It's a pretty simple helmet. There's not much going on. There is some cool things going on with the texturing. There's a couple dents as though it's been hit with something, you know, whether that's, a bullet or just some shrapnel or rocks or what have you. I don't know. But there's a few different little dings and dents and scratches and scrapes is what I was sort of going to say, but I kind of got them both together. You can see a couple of the scratches there when the light hits it right, the dents and things like that. So it's a well done helmet. It's unique to Hawk. This is not a helmet that we've seen before. We get goggles that fit under the helmet. We get goggles that fit over the helmet. We get a pistol that goes in his hip holster, which has some nice sculpting. It's got a star on the handle there, which is cool. I think this is unique to Hawk. We get another pistol that is going to sit in the holster on his chest or across his chest. I don't know that we've seen this one before either. I think this one might be unique as well. We get the shotgun, which I believe we saw with CoverGirl, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And then we also get some sort of grenade launcher or something like that. I believe this came with Gung Ho. So we're not looking at a ton of new accessories, but they are effective and I think they work. The vintage Hawk, I think, just came with a helmet and a pistol. So this is an upgrade from the vintage version of Hawk. And surprisingly, they're pretty much all straight. I'm not going to have to straighten anything out. or they're straight enough that I'm not really that worried about it. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera perfectly, but yes, the accessories, the loadout that you get with this guy is pretty good. I think that is going to definitely help sort of elevate and sort of get me past some of the nitpicks that I have with some of the articulation. But let me get this guy all geared up and I'll give my final thoughts. All right, so there's Hawk all geared up. He can't quite hold all of his weapons. I mean, he could. I mean, if you put the pistol in the holster, he could hold the shotgun as well. That felt like overkill, so I sort of ultimately went with this. One thing that I will mention, the helmet fits fine, but it fits even better if you put the goggles that fit under the helmet before you put the helmet on, and then put the goggles that go over the helmet on top after that. No problem there at all. So that's why, you know, the other goggles aren't on the desk here. They're actually under the helmet. But altogether, it looks really, really good. I mean, the articulation in the arms is fine. He can hit all the poses that you want, even if it isn't ideal. Like I said, I think they're moving in the right direction with what they're trying to do with that shoulder, but I think they still need to work on it a little bit. I also think that, you know, brown plastic tends to show stress more than almost any other color for some strange reason. I don't know why, but I found that with other lines as well. So this could be a case of, you know, they were trying it on this figure and it maybe wasn't the right figure to sort of do some of this stuff with. But altogether, like I said, this is a great looking figure, and you know, I think Hawk is one of those characters that everybody is going to want in their collection, and rightfully so. I mean, he's you know, one of the mains. You know, if your love for Joe goes back, you know, to the 80s, I think Hawk is definitely a character that you're going to want. And the nitpicks, I should mention this. I did a video for Wolf Spider, and I had a whole bunch of nitpicks, and I said you could pass on Wolf Spider if you want. You can pass on any figure if you want, right? Like, ultimately, nobody needs any of this stuff. But with Wolf Spider, I felt that with the difficulty of finding it and the fact that it's an unknown character, or like a new character, it felt like you wouldn't have a hole in your collection if you didn't have Wolf Spider. My nitpicks about Hawk really don't make me think that this is a bad figure. Like I said, these are nitpicks. These are sort of this is a great figure. It's a fantastic looking figure, and I think Hawk is definitely one that you're going to want, and one that I would strongly recommend, despite the issues that I have with it. So, you know, go out and get yourself a General Hawk. It's well worth it, and my sort of nitpicks are just that. They're nitpicks. It's a great looking figure with great sculpting, ambitious articulation in the shoulders, maybe. So I will give them a little bit of a break. Now, if I see these shoulders again and it sort of does the same things, I might be a little bit disappointed, but I like it. I mean, I like that they're trying to do new things. I just think that the execution in the classified line has not been quite as laser focused as it was before. But yeah, Hawk is a great figure, and one that I would strongly recommend. I got mine from eCollectibles.ca, so if you haven't gotten one yet, hit up Mike at eCollectibles, and he'll be able to help you out with Hawk or any other G.I. Joe that's a standard release, and very often some of the harder to find ones as well. So there you go. Get yourself a Hawk, because you will be very disappointed if you don't. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you don't want to miss future videos, hit the bell icon to get notifications. Until next time, bye-bye.